Welcome to the Accidental Experts podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Hamilton. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a child and family therapist. I have been in practice for over 15 years, and I'm also a mom of 4. So I know the challenges both professionally and personally. I'm so glad that you're here today to grow your parenting toolbox. Please come as you are and be ready to learn. My goal is to make you the accidental expert so that you can raise healthy humans. Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're enjoying our episodes. Today we have a really important topic. We are going to be talking about fentanyl and how it's impacting our community and our kids, both children, teens, and young adults, and what we can do about it. So today our guest is going to be Captain Shawn Magee, and he is a very experienced police officer. He has 18 years as a police officer in Kansas City, Kansas, and he has a mission to educate and connect with the community. And right now he is a commander for the Narcotics and Violent Crime Task Force in Kansas City, Kansas. And with that, we're going to go to Shawn.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. I'm so glad you're here to kind of educate us on this topic that's not so great, but like good for us to have information about.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with just like, what is fentanyl? Like we hear this word on the news, but like, what is this?
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's not natural like you get with morphine or heroin. It comes from the poppy plant. It's completely synthetic, and it's thousands of times more powerful than morphine and heroin. So the amount that it takes to either cause, the good stuff that it does for, people in pain, cancer patients and stuff doesn't take a lot. But then when you started utilizing it in the criminal activity and the world of addicts and stuff on opioids, it takes such a small amount that could be fatal. So.
Yeah. So so you said they're using it, like the medication is actually a drug that is like a real medication that they use. So it's for people with cancer or pain conditions or like anesthesia. I think they use that for that too. So it must suppress breathing, or like, does it slow down breathing? Like what makes it dangerous? Like why should we be on high alert about this?
So the opioid, the fentanyl goes to the opioid receptors in the brain, and it covers them, and it causes basically, it starts off by just shutting down your systems of breathing and stuff like that. So you basically suffocate to death when it comes to fentanyl, because your body will not send the impulses to your muscles and the diaphragm to breathe.
Wow, that is incredibly scary. So if a kid were to get a hold of this, I mean, it would take obviously even less for them than an adult, and they could die so quickly.
Yes, when you talk with children, everybody knows as a parent, you got to make sure just how much, Tylenol you're giving them, or how much Motrin and stuff like that, because they're so tiny. The dosages are a lot smaller for them, even the antibiotics. And when it comes to fentanyl, obviously size does play a game. A bigger person can maybe take a little bit more of the fentanyl, but the little ones can't take very much, and it can be lethal very quickly.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly scary. So what do you think? Why is it really as bad as the news is saying? Because, we hear about overdoses at high schools or kids getting a hold of it at different elementary schools. Is it really like happening nationwide? Is it really that bad? Is it everywhere?
I mean, it's a worldwide problem, and it's definitely the number one problem in the United States right now. I mean, agencies all around the country, the federal agencies all know what kind of an epidemic we have with fentanyl. When I first came on, the main drugs that you saw were crack cocaine, cocaine, PCP, meth started kind of coming along, towards, well, I mean, it was there during the beginning of my career, but it really took off. And then all of a sudden, about 10 years ago, fentanyl is now taking over. It's cheaply produced, it's cheaply made, and the high that people get off of it is, very pronounced, just like all opioids are. And that's why they say heroin used to be one of the hardest ones to get off of. And if you tried it once, you'd be hooked onto it. But the problem is now people are getting pills or powder from people that aren't chemists, like you get it from the doctor's office, and they're getting lethal amounts, and it just takes the tip of a pencil's worth of fentanyl to kill you.
Whoa, that is so small. That's tiny. So that's scary. So how is it presenting? So like, obviously our kids are probably not going out looking for drug dealers, obviously. So like, how is it getting introduced to kids?
So usually, like we deal with, older kids, high school, maybe late middle school, college age kids. You're starting to see it that people are either at a party or something, and somebody says that they, take oxycodones or Percocets, that have opioids in them, and kids take those sometimes to get a little bit of a high. The problem is now that there's so many fake pills with the fentanyl in them. They look almost identical or even better than the actual real pills from the pharmacy. That kids sometimes believe that they're getting, just a Percocet or an oxycodone to take, and it's got a lethal dose of fentanyl in it. And we notice this a lot. Like a lot of people don't understand, you could have the same batch of pills, let's say if you bought from somebody or somebody gave them to you, and people don't understand why one person that got these same pills in the same batch passed away, but the other ones maybe didn't pass away. And the best way that we try to put it as is think of these aren't chemists making these pills on these pill presses. And so they don't know exactly what they're doing. So try to equate it as the next time that you make chocolate chip cookies and you put your chocolate chips in there, and everybody's probably had the batch of cookies come out of the oven, and one cookie's got one chocolate chip where another cookie's got about 10,000 chocolate chips.
Mm.
By the way you just kind of stirred it up and mixed it. It's kind of the same thing with fentanyl. You could have one batch come out of a pill press from one of these people making them illegally. Two or three of the pills have a lethal dose in them, and the other ones maybe don't have a lethal dose. And that's kind of the gamble that people play when they take these pills.
Yeah, because nobody's controlling it. Whereas, like, if you're really a cancer patient and your doctor has prescribed a medication for you, that is something that is being regulated and controlled, and they do have it as the perfect dose because it's being monitored all the time. But drug dealers or people who are illegally manufacturing it are not doing that same type of due diligence.
Correct. And then, I mean, before the fentanyl pill presses and stuff of manufacturing it illegally came around, I mean, people were getting the fentanyl patches that you put on
Mm.
your skin, from somebody, and they would even suck on them like a lollipop. And if you aren't prescribed that drug or you do it too much, that could still cause a fatal overdose. But that was kind of how it all started out, was getting actually some of the stuff from the prescribers, somebody'd sell to you on the side. But now that's pretty much not what we're seeing. It's all the illegal stuff coming up through Mexico, the precursors coming from China, and they're making these pills here in our country on pill presses, and you can even buy the powder and do different things with it. But it's mostly pills that we're seeing looking like fake oxycodones, Percocets, stuff like that.
So do we need to, so the pills, that seems more of like the like middle school, high school, college age people, but like, do we need to be worried about our littler kids in elementary school? Are they coming across any other way than just pills,
Yes.
or the pills looking like different things, or like what would interest a little kid in that?
Well, I mean, they can come in, they make them different colors sometimes. So, I mean, most of them look like a fake Percocet or an oxycodone, but we've seen them and, they're all colors of the rainbow. Some of them look like Skittles. Some of them have like a little design on them, like a unicorn or something
Hmm.
standing up, and that's what's scary with the little kids is you just see these, look like Skittles on the ground. And the next thing you know, it's a counterfeit illegally made pill laced with fentanyl that could cause an overdose. And these poor little children are maybe just trying to pick up a Skittle off the ground.
Yeah. So what can we do to protect our kids?
What I would do, like here at the Kansas City Kansas Police Department, we try to do a four-prong approach. We start with education. I try to go out and I try to go to different schools, churches, community groups, all these different things to educate our people, our parents, our students. And now we're trying to transfer that. We did a really good job in the last few years of hitting the high schools, middle schools, and all that stuff, but we're going to try to transfer over now to the elementary schools. So you try to get the education out there by showing how dangerous this product is, what kind of problems is it causing in our society right now, and try to almost get that raw knee jerk reaction of showing them some pretty stuff or pretty sensitive stuff sometimes to scare them because it is real, and sometimes people have to see how real it is.
Hmm.
And then we go into our investigations when we do have overdoses of targeting our sellers for selling these pills that are related to a death in the state of Kansas, which is almost like a second degree murder charge here. So that we've done numerous successful prosecutions with that in the last couple of years. And what that does is it gets out onto the streets that these dealers know that if you do this, there's some serious repercussions. Then obviously we have the enforcement. We have to go out and try to like target our distribution or our people distributing fentanyl. And then also trying to make contact with our users that we can try to find out where they're getting it. And then we've added a fourth prong approach now with behavioral modification, where after we come in contact with a user or somebody, we try to forward them to the health department and try to get them the help they need, because we can target the drug as much as we want, but there's so many things behind it, that cause the addiction that's driving the need for it. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the little ones, I think how we're kind of trying to morph as a police department to now go and target the elementary schools for these educations, definitely target the parents, because they're the ones that are going to be able to, see their kids every day. And if we can inform them as much as we can, they'll be able to forward that onto their children. Because I could go talk to a school as much as I want. We know how little kids are. I mean, I see them for an hour. That might not be their heartstrings or soak in, but if they're getting it from their parents every day and they know how dangerous this is and what to look out for, that's going to help. And that's why doing stuff with you, like here on your podcast, is so integral in helping our youth.
Yeah, so educating the parents is really important. I know that at our house, this is a conversation that we have, not daily, but, like every couple of weeks, we talk about with our children about like, hey, if you find candy on the floor, because we don't know, like our kids go to a great school, but that doesn't mean that this can't be there, because it's everywhere, right? Everybody is potentially looking for a high in any community. It doesn't matter what your demographics are. And so I think, we talk to our kids about like, if you find candy on the floor, like, do you eat it? No. And then we've talked to our kids about like, if somebody offers you candy and it's not an adult, and in like a teacher or a friend's parent, that we will give you double candy if you come home and tell us about it, because we want our kids to be safe. And it's scary enough for us as parents to know that there could be, and it's not just fentanyl that's out there that's in these candy looking things. There's lots of different drugs out there, and that makes it scary. So do you think we should be scared as parents, or like, is it just that we're educating? Like, where is the line here? What do you think?
Yes, you should be scared as a parent, but not walk around in fear. This is something that we can control with, good parenting and education and stuff. Is it a dangerous product? Yes. The one thing I tell people is it has no remorse. Mm-hmm. Zero. This drug doesn't care if you're the lowest socioeconomic, class, or you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or whether you're a child, whether you're adult, whether you're elderly. It does not care. You will be its victim and die to it all the same. So no, I don't like to live in fear. I got two little ones, 4 and 2-year-old little girls, and yeah, it scares me, because I think just being a cop in general, you're scared of a lot more than most people are just in the general public, because you see different stuff every day, whether it's drugs or it's crime. But to be able to educate our parents into where they'll be able to take that knowledge, then take it to their kids, and then we know with the little ones, you just got to keep repeating it and make sure that they hear you. And they're not going to hear you probably the first or second time, but if you just keep doing it every day, I think we don't need to live in fear. We're going to beat this thing. It's going to take a while, and we're doing the most we can here on the law enforcement side. But I think just the continually educating our children through the parents is what's going to be crucial to definitely protecting our children.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's say the worst happens and you suspect that your kid has been exposed to fentanyl, or your teenager or your young adult or a colleague or something, that they're having a drug overdose. What can we do?
So we actually had a thing the other day, at the library here in KCK. It's one of the first like 4, I think, here around the state of Kansas and Missouri. They basically put a vending machine inside the library that's free. Enter your zip code and you get a 2-pack of Narcan. Narcan's a tried and true product.
What is it? What is Narcan? What does it do?
Narcan is Noxalone. It's basically a product that it'll if you're experiencing any type of overdoses or problems with an opioid, it knocks the opioid receptors off or the opioid off the opioid receptors in your brain, and you can regain your breathing and stuff like that. It's saved thousands of lives. We
Mm-hmm.
deployed Kansas City, Kansas Police Department very frequently. You know, it's a product that has very little downsides, meaning that if I give it to you and let's say you weren't having an overdose, it's not going to hurt you. If I give you too much, it's not going to really hurt you. But it's one of those things that if you are having an opioid related overdose or something like that, it will definitely save your life. So the way I equate it is it's almost like having an EpiPen inside your house if somebody has allergies. You know, I wouldn't mind having everybody maybe have a pack of Narcan inside their house. And that's why we're trying to get more to distribute at our community groups and different stuff, just so people have it, because it's one of those things I'd rather have it and not need it than need it, not have it.
Yeah.
If you do experience somebody that's having what looks like, you know, respiratory distress or, you know, it could be a lot of medical things, but if there are some precursors where you're thinking this could be an opioid related incident, you know, I mean, first thing you need to do if you had Narcan is use it. You know, call 911, use the Narcan, but don't run away. You know, I made a new pamphlet for the little kids, you know, about fentanyl. And the one thing I say is don't run away, because we know how kids will get scared and just run away. You know, stay with the person, scream, whatever you need to do. Get your coach, your teacher, your parent, your friends, whoever you can to come help this person, because just running away, they are not going to be able to save themselves.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that people don't understand is when you have an opioid related overdose, people wonder why you can't, when you start feeling a little queasy, you know, put the Narcan in your nose and do it yourself. You can't. You will be
Mm-hmm.
unconscious before those feelings happen, and you're not going to be able to save yourself. So you need to have somebody there to help you.
Yeah. So the way that you use Narcan is to put it in the nose and then you spray. It's like a tiny little device. It's maybe like 2 inches. And how far do
Yeah,
you have to stick it in the nose?
I
Just a
mean,
little bit?
literally just a little bit. I mean, I would try to get it in there as far as the nozzle will go in there. But I mean, you literally open the package. It's pretty self-explanatory, like putting on a seatbelt. I mean, you put it inside the nose, you push the little plunger on the back of it, and there you go.
Yeah.
And usually within about 2 minutes, you should start seeing some relief when it comes to it. You know, if after 2 minutes you don't see nothing, don't feel like you can't hesitate and push another dose of Narcan up the nose, because they usually come in 2 packs,
Yeah.
because you're not going to hurt somebody by giving them too much Narcan.
Yeah. So then how do we get access to it? So I heard you say in KCK, they have dispensers in different places, but like if we're not in a place that's close to that, how do you get access to it?
We're trying to get more through community groups and stuff, but I mean, I'm sure you can Google Narcan, you know, whether it's free. There's tons of different nonprofits and health departments, and you know, not just here in KCK, but all over the place, that are giving away the Narcan for free to people just to be able to have it. You know, worst case scenario, if you got to find a way you had to pay for it. I mean, me as a father, I would probably move mountains to buy whatever I need to protect my children, as most of everybody I'm talking to here on this podcast would. So, I mean, if you can't find a free one, there's ways to get it. I don't know all of them, but you can
Sure.
Google Narcan and probably be able to find it pretty easily.
Yeah, and I know one other suggestion for getting it is a lot of the insurance companies are covering it now of like a 2 dose pack every so often. And the pharmacist, my understanding, at least in the state of Kansas, is that they can prescribe it. You just have to simply ask and they can prescribe it to you. And then it can go through your insurance. And for us as a family, it was free. So I don't know that every insurance is that way, but that was great for us to get access to this in case that would happen. Well, this is so good of information. Tell me, what do you want parents to take away from this?
Don't be scared. It is a problem here in the nation. I mean, you probably see it on the news as much as anybody else does. But to live in fear is not going to solve anything. Educate yourself, whether it's through reaching out to the police departments, whether it's doing your own research in the, you know, at nighttime after the kids go to bed and Google and fentanyl. Um, Take the time and effort to educate yourself properly, and then make sure that you forward that to your children. Just like we used to tell them, you know, don't go home with a stranger, you know, never leave with somebody you don't know. And, you know, as parents, we all want to do that. I think we can. And we're going to get through this. We just have to do it as a team, and we need the parents' help with that, because there's nothing more heartbreaking as a policeman. I'm telling you, we've seen it, dealing with a child that's passed away due to this. And we've got to protect our kids in the best ways through educating yourself. And we're here as the department here in Kansas City, Kansas. Whatever you need, you feel free. We'll move mountains to accomplish this.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I'm sure that police departments around the nation are also feeling the same way because we're all fighting this battle together. Well, this has been so insightful. I appreciate your time and all this information. Thanks, Shawn.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for breaking this down for us. I know that for me as a parent, the most scary parts are the things that we don't know about and don't know how to handle. And the important part about this is that we can get educated. We can educate ourselves. We can educate our kids. We can ask the schools if they have information about this, if they are knowledgeable. Do they have Narcan? We can get access to Narcan and we can teach our kids how to use it and how to address a potential drug overdose. Although it's scary, it is something that could happen and it could save somebody's life. Just like knowing how to do CPR, right? This is something that is scary when it happens. But if we are rehearsing how to help our kids and ourselves know how to handle the situation, then we will be prepared. We can challenge our schools to make sure that they are prepared within their doors to offer Narcan to a student that is overdosing. And we can have these conversations on a regular basis with our teens and kids and young adults to make sure that they feel prepared. With that, I'll say thank you so much for your time today. If you like what we're doing, please follow us and rate and subscribe. We would love it. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And if you have a topic that you would like for us to talk about, please send us an email to accidentalexperts@gmail.com. Have a fantastic day. Some words from our legal team.
The information presented in this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for appropriate professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained on or available through this podcast, is for general information purposes only. This podcast makes no representations and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy or information on or available through this podcast, and such information is subject to change without notice. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained through this program with other sources and review all information regarding any condition or treatment with the appropriate professionals.
What we're saying is, yes, I am a real therapist, but I'm not your therapist.